Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of Darkness Reviews. Why is this special? Well, for most of you, it isn't. It's just another review. Sorry, dog got a squeaky toy. She wanted to be in the video today. And by that I mean I rearranged my room, so this is the angle I have to film at now. So you'll probably see more of Maggie. Anyway, but the reason this review is special is not only am I reviewing a game that's been much requested by many people, but this review is also free for all Patreon members. By that I mean most times when I upload a full review, it's considered paid content, and then they're allowed to send me their pledges if they so choose. That's how Patreon works. This one's free. Why? Well, because one distinct Patreon supporter is the proud owner of the most expensive package that I offer. The guy sends me $50 per review, which is a heck of a lot of money when you consider the fact that I do 2 reviews a month, usually. Now, the perk for that is getting a single mini review for any game the person could possibly imagine. Now, the issue we ran into is that life came at me a little fast, and I wasn't able to supply his review per month, and he told me not to worry about it, and I said, well, if you did want one, what did you want? And he said, well, what about Sonic Adventure? And I said, well, I wasn't really planning on doing a mini review of that, because it's kind of not a game you talk about at a short length, at least especially not when you're me. So basically I decided, since I hadn't been able to give him his one mini review per month, I could combine all 3 months and then give him a full review, which I thought was reasonable, and so did he. Which is why this is free, because it'd be kind of silly of me to give him his perk, but then charge him for his perk. You know, like, he already paid, so why the... You see why... Exactly. Sonic Adventure, let's go! You know, admittedly, I kind of was having trouble concocting, shall we say, this review initially, because I was like, Sonic Adventure is a good game, but it's got flaws, and I don't know where to start. Like, I don't really know how to approach this one. And I could do a super detailed one like I did with Sonic Next Gen and go in order, but there aren't enough flaws for me to make it worth doing that. So, this review may come off as very chaotic, but considering the plot of the game, I think that's a bit appropriate. So, we may bounce around a bit, and it may seem a bit out of order, and you're going to deal with it, because that's the only way I could possibly hope to tackle this, without this review taking way, way, way longer than it should. Sonic Adventure is the first 3D Sonic game that was... Well, I should say it's the first 3D Sonic game. It's not technically the first 3D Sonic game, but it's the first proper 3D Sonic game. And by that I mean it's the first 3D Sonic platformer that feels, you know, like a Sonic game. It's not like Sonic R or Sonic 3D Blast, which wasn't even really 3D technically. And I suppose when you could argue that there was a 3D little like mini bonus world in Sonic Jam, and that could count, but let's be realistic. Sonic Adventure was the first true 3D Sonic game. Let's just get that out of the way right now. It was also the first Sonic game to appear on the Sega Dreamcast, a great console, and a severely underrated one at that. This is the game that really sold the Dreamcast. I mean, we hadn't seen a really good Sonic game, at least not in the mainstream, since the Sega Genesis. So fans were obviously psyched by this, and the game, well, just looking at it, it looks great, and it is a ton of fun to play. The game is set up in a bit of an interesting way, too. You actually have 6 different characters to choose from, and a 7th bonus mission, which isn't using a different character from before, but I'll get to that later. You get to play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big the Cat, and E102 Gamma. This is an interesting concept. I mean, we had multiple characters to choose from in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but it wasn't really fleshed out like this. The story is linked up between the characters, and it always plays out the same, but it's from the character you're playing as perspective, and there's certain things that one character may have experienced that others didn't. It's an interesting idea, and it actually works to the game's advantage, and to be perfectly realistic, this is one game I cite when everyone complains that, oh, I don't want to play as Sonic's friends. Well, it's been done completely fine before. This and Sonic Adventure 2 did a great job of that, so I don't see why that's such a bad thing as long as it's done properly, and in this case it was. It was a great game structure, it was a lot of fun to play as different characters, and every character played differently. Everything felt unique. You may not like one character, but you may like playing as another. Sure, you would have to play through all 6 of them to get through the game, but the fact that you had different options on how you wanted to play the game, especially, you know, after you beat it and you wanted to go back and play it, is a unique idea, and I can really appreciate that. The core game mechanics actually work pretty well, and in order to talk about those, I really have to talk about the game characters individually, since, like I said, they all play differently. Sonic, for example, is really fast and runs and jumps. I really don't feel I need to explain any of that anymore. I mean, it's classic Sonic, and this game was the one that introduced the homing attack. Some may question what the homing attack's purpose was. Well, simply put, they put the homing attack in the game because they ran into a problem in that Sonic had trouble jumping on enemies without some way to target them. It's sort of the same reason why Mario had the butt bounce in Mario 64, although I'm pretty sure he had that move prior to. The point is, Sonic didn't have a move that allowed him to do something similar, so they gave him the homing attack to make the gameplay a little bit easier and less annoying, which it works really well here, and honestly, being up front, I love Sonic Adventure 2, but I don't think the homing attacks worked as good as Sonic Adventure in any other game after it. And it's because of the sense of speed that it and the rest of the game gives you. Sonic's moves have no delays on them at all. You can go straight into a spin dash, a jump, a homing attack with no delay whatsoever, and it makes the game feel very, very quick. Sonic's movement animations are also fast, and I don't think he's moving technically faster than any other Sonic game, but the sense of speed the game gives was unrivaled at the time, and honestly I don't think it would be surpassed until Sonic Unleashed came out, which is a testament to how good the game was. Controls are acceptable, but this is where I'm going to start to get into some flaws, because I'm going to say this right now. Sonic Adventure is a really, really good game, but it has aged like milk. There's a lot of game flaws here, ones that could be overlooked at the time, things that would bother you now that wouldn't bother you back then, like the camera. Oh god, the fucking camera, and the controls. They're okay, but with some characters they can be very sporadic and difficult to work with, and I've faced through the floor before. And you may be saying, well, you were so hard on Sonic Next Gen because of all its bugs, Darkness. Why are you willing to let Sonic Adventure, have a pass? 2 reasons. 1, Sonic Adventure was the first Sonic game of its kind, basically. You can kind of cut them a little slack because they've never done anything like it before. 2, Sonic Adventure doesn't have anywhere near as many bugs as Next Gen did. That is not even remotely a fair comparison. Do not ever say that to me again, because we've been down that road, and if I have to go back and review Next Gen another time and count the bugs, I will. But don't make me do that, because I really do not ever want to play or discuss that game ever again. That being said, Sonic's gameplay can be very chaotic at times. It's a little bit difficult to control him because he's so fast, which may be why they slowed him down a little bit in Sonic Adventure 2. I can kind of understand that. It's not really a big deal, but it is something you're going to have to get used to. But moving on from Sonic, let's talk about Knuckles for a second. Knuckles' gameplay is a little bit odd. He's not platforming here. Instead, Knuckles' gameplay centers around finding the pieces of the Master Emerald that have been shattered as part of the story. You have these hunting stages where you have to use this radar to find the pieces of the emerald. And I've heard a lot of complaints about the hunting stages, but I actually never minded them. It was an interesting mechanic, and it worked pretty well. It worked a lot better in Sonic Adventure 2, I must admit. I don't think the radar in Sonic Adventure has a long enough range. which needs to be fixed, and for some reason I don't feel like Knuckles' controls in this game are nearly as refined as any of the other characters. He's a little hard to maneuver sometimes, and I don't know, it's not as fun to play as, which is unfortunate because at the time he was my favorite character. And then you have Amy, who is surprisingly enjoyable to play as. I'm shocked and amazed as to how much fun she can be. Her campaign's extremely short, granted, but she's basically a slower style platformer, and they give her a giant hammer in this game, which some people think was introduced in this game. It wasn't. It was introduced in Sonic the Fighters, the arcade game. Fun fact. Then we have Big the Cat's campaign, and I still do not understand why this character is here. I actually listened to an interview with the director of the game, and he discussed why Big existed at all. And basically, the idea was they wanted to incorporate a sixth character who was completely different from everyone else, and they succeeded at doing that, in fairness, but nobody... I don't know a single fucking person who wanted to fish in this game. I mean, I guess the mechanics work okay for the time, and, you know, this campaign's pretty short, but my issue with Big is that if you removed him from the game, it wouldn't change a damn thing. Like honestly, the idea of Big is that he's chasing down his friend Froggy, who's been kidnapped or possessed by Chaos's tail. Chaos is the god of destruction that Eggman's trying to use to destroy. I'll get to the plot later. The point is, you could remove the Chaos's tail thing since it really doesn't affect like anything, and it wouldn't matter. And even if you took Big out of the equation and just had the frog and the tail, if you had to have the tail, it still wouldn't change anything because Big didn't need to be there. He literally contributes nothing. I mean, I guess he's funny. I'll give him that, but that's about it. I just don't really understand why he's here at all. And then we have E102 Gamma, who actually has the best campaign in the game, by far. See, the writing in this game is questionable, and by questionable I mean it's almost insultingly bad at times. And again, I'll get to that, but E102's Gamma's story is actually written incredibly well, and I like the idea of putting the player in the shoes of one of Eggman's robots, and trying to, you know, live as they do, and the whole thing, if you take it for what it is, and really get down to it, especially in the ending, it's actually heartbreaking, in a way. I mean, it's sort of bittersweet in the end, but I must say, this and Sonic Adventure 2's plot about Shadow is some of the best writing in the entire series, by far. So, if there's any reason to play Sonic Adventure, it's just to experience Gamma's plot. And as for his gameplay, well, it's more combat-oriented. It's essentially the precursor to Eggman and Tails' gameplay in Sonic Adventure 2, where you have a laser that targets enemies and you just shoot them. It's very simple but effective, and it's actually quite fun to play. So, Gamma's story, one of the best in the game by far, right up there with Sonic's campaign. Now, some of the more observant among you may have noticed that I completely skipped discussing Tails' campaign, and there's a reason for this. I wanted to save it for last because it gives me a good chance to talk about the story in this game, because Tails' campaign is by far the worst campaign in the whole game, and you may be saying, how can that be? Because Big sucked. Big wasn't fun at all. You know, I liked playing as Tails, but it's not from a gameplay perspective. Tails, his issue is more that he's too similar to Sonic, but he's still fun to play as, so that's not really the problem. His campaign just contains like this concentration of all the game's other flaws, so I wanted to save it for last, because if I needed to isolate most of this game's problems, it would be in Tails' story, because they're all there. Besides the fact that the most plot holes exist in this campaign by far, many game flaws also exist in this campaign for some reason. But I'm just gonna let me just start with the plot. Let me just start at the beginning. First of all, Tails' whole story centers around it. He's developing this plane that runs on Chaos Emerald power, which is an interesting concept, and that's fine. my issue is that the first thing that happens is his plane crashes because the whole thing malfunctions, but how can that be? Planes don't really work like that usually. And by that I mean, if the engine went berserk, went too fast or too slow, you know, it wouldn't cause the plane to careen out of the sky. That would mean that he's also using the Chaos Emerald to power the flaps, and ailerons and rudder and all the maneuvering, you know, aspects of a plane. Why would he do that? You can just make that mechanical and it would work acceptable, especially if you're just working with a prototype. I don't understand how this works. I mean, maybe I'm thinking too much about this, but the real plot holes start coming in when we start dealing with Eggman and his plan, which this whole, of course, exists across all campaigns because the whole game is centered around his plan. But I just wanna put this in perspective. Okay. For one, when Sonic and Tails run into Eggman, he actually approaches them and actually volunteers his plan and explains what he plans on doing. But basically, his idea is that he wants to use the power of this ancient god of destruction known as Chaos, who was locked in the Master Emerald, which is why the Master Emerald shattered. And he wants to use the power of this god to destroy Station Square, the main city in this game. And on its ruins, he will build the mighty city of Robotnik Land, where he will rule it all. A couple problems here. For one, why are you telling Sonic and Tails about this? These are literally the two precise people on the planet that should not know what you're up to, on the basis that they're the ones that stop you every single fucking time. So, pray tell, why are you telling them anything? And I've heard the argument that, well, he's just using them to get the Chaos Emeralds because he steals, you know, the emeralds from them as the campaign goes on. And yes, this is true, but why doesn't he just get the emeralds himself? He has an army of robots. He doesn't need Sonic and Tails to do it. And again, telling them just gives them more of an opportunity to stop him, which they do. So, what the hell is wrong with you? Second of all, this plan, okay, for one, you're just trying to destroy one city. What happened to world domination? You narrowed your focus a bit. And I don't really understand that. Well, why do you just the one city then? That's all you care about, not the rest of the world, but just that city, just that spot. And why that one? Is that like prime real estate? You have to put Robotnik Land there. It has to go there. You can't go anywhere else on the planet. It has to go in that fucking spot. Because any other spot will not do. Okay, and we're using the ancient god of destruction that destroyed the entire planet in the past to do this. Why? Why? Really? Doesn't that seem like overkill? I mean, there are so many ways this plan could backfire. I mean, for one, how do you even know it's going to listen to you? For two, you're just using it just to destroy that one city, and then what are you going to do with it? Serious question. You take your time, just answer it. Like, what are you going to do after that? After the city is, you know, destroyed, you're going to... And then, you know, after the city is destroyed, you're going to build your city. It's going to be the ultimate city, and you're going to rule it all. Who in the blue heck is going to live there after you wiped out an entire populace? Nothing about this makes sense. And back to the Chaos thing. Later in the game, he reveals that he has this giant floating battleship. If all you want to do is destroy a single city, why are you not using the giant floating battleship? That seems a lot easier since it's already there and it works and it has a giant laser and there are many reasons that it would be very useful to you. But let's get back to Tails' story. Another issue what I have with Tails' story, and it's a bit of an issue with the rest of the game, is that there are more rehashed levels in Tails' story than anywhere else. And the rehashed levels is a little bit of an issue with Sonic Adventure. It's not nearly as bad here, since, for one, the gameplay differs enough between the characters that you don't notice it as much. The levels change quite a bit for the different characters. In addition, some characters do have unique levels, and they're all in a different order, so there's that to consider, and on top of that, the game's just more fun to play, and again, the rehashed level thing would not get nearly as bad until Sonic Heroes, which I think is actually the worst offender of that particular problem. Next Gen was really bad for it, but Heroes, it made you play through all levels 4 times. That was ridiculous. But Adventure didn't do that sort of thing. But I do have to talk about the world map in Adventure, because I don't know why anyone ever liked it. Because it's padding. That's what it is. It's all it's ever been for. I mean, yeah, you got some items from it, and, you know, there were some puzzles to solve occasionally, but even there, it wasn't really much of anything. It only served to draw out the rest of the game. It didn't really serve much of a purpose. I mean, granted, it served even less of a purpose in Sonic Next Gen when it really was padding, but here, you know, it's tolerable, but I think the game would actually be better without it, maybe. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But back to Tails' plot. Okay, so the end of Tails' story basically has him learning to, you know, think for himself and do things on his own without Sonic, and that's a good character arc. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the arc. I like the story's idea. The problem is the entirety of Tails' campaign has you focusing on Tails, and during cutscenes where in Sonic's story Sonic would be trash-talking Eggman, Tails is actually talking. And Sonic is actually relegated to more of a sidekick duty. In addition, part of Tails' level gameplay with Sonic is that he has to challenge Sonic to a race and then beat him. So, it sort of undermines the whole idea that, I need to learn to be without Sonic, when the entire campaign you have done everything for Sonic without an issue. Also, there's this one fucking boss in this campaign that's also in, like, 4 other fucking campaigns. And I hate fighting this stupid boss. It was not fun the first time. Why am I fighting it again? I hate fucking Chaos frickin' 4, okay? It sucks. It sucks ass. And I hate this boss fight. It's terrible. Why am I doing it? It's the worst one in the entire game. The rest of them are fine. This one boss fight, though, sucks. Just thought I'd get that out there. But the ending of Tails' story is the one that really threw me for a loop. Okay, get this. Alright, so when the egg carrier, like, crashes and shit, Tails, you know, shows up at Station Square, and so does Eggman, and then Eggman's like, oh no, my plans is ruined, but it's okay, I'll destroy Station Square anyway. And then he summons a nuclear missile. Let's stop for a moment. If you had a nuclear missile, and all you wanted to do was destroy Station Square, why did you go through with the whole God thing? Just fire the missile! Not hard. Actually, apparently it is, because the missile doesn't work. So, as much as I can gather, Eggman is actually just really, really bad at making missiles, which is why he didn't do that in the first place. So I guess I can kind of explain that one. So he goes to try to detonate it, which, you know, if you detonate it when you're standing next to it, you'll, like, die. I'm just thought I'd throw that out there, and then he decides to fight Tails with a giant robot, which he could also probably use to destroy Station Square if he so chose. Really, I just don't think Eggman understands the fact that he has a lot of options at his disposal and doesn't use them at all. I just didn't like Tails' campaign. I mean, it's not awful, but like Big's campaign isn't good. But you knew that going in. Tails is a character you wanted to do well, and it's it's upsetting to see that his campaign is so weak compared to everyone else's. Speaking of campaigns, I should probably go back to Knuckles for a second and clarify that this is the only motherfucking game, other than the Sonic RPG on the DS, that really goes into Knuckles' past, like in more great detail, and you know, starts talking about his, you know, duty as a guardian of the Emerald, and goes into how he has to, you know, stay on the island forever, and his job is to watch this thing, you know, for the rest of his life. I mean, you know, that's some pretty deep stuff. It doesn't really flush it out here, but at least it's referenced, and then they never go back to it, ever again. Every other game, like, Knuckles is just kind of there. I mean, Sonic Adventure 2 is the only one with any kind of explanation as to why he's not guarding the Emerald. Everything past that, it's like, oh yeah, Knuckles is here. Don't you have an emerald to be guarding? Whoa, what emerald? Like, you took the most interesting aspect of Knuckles' character and then just, like, forgot about it after this. I don't understand. But I want to go into the final story, because I thought I'd clarify, because there is a 7th story here. Where, basically, it's about Super Sonic, where Chaos goes all perfect and destroys Station Square, and you have to fight him. Which, by the way, the final boss fight in this game is really freaking good, actually. It actually has aged quite well, surprisingly. It's one of the best parts of the game. And I should probably take this opportunity to mention the music in the game kicks ass. This is one of the best soundtracks in the history of the Sonic series, period. The only game I could think of that possibly comes close to topping it is Sonic Adventure 2, and even that is debatable. That is how good the music is in this game. I love the tracks in this game. But back to the final story. There was one thing about it that bothered me. For one, it dwells into the Echidna civilization of the past and how they were basically dicks that caused Chaos to go crazy and kill everyone, which is an interesting idea, actually. It's one of the more interesting aspects of the plot, which I actually kind of like that. And you know, you have this ancient spirit Tikal, who somehow got sealed in the Master Emerald along with Chaos, who's trying to, you know, seal him again. And now Sonic is like, wait, you know, there's a better way to do this, and that better way is apparently beating the tar out of Chaos, which is what Sonic does. And then it ends, and then Chaos and, you know, Tikal are put back on the Emerald. Well, I know a few spoilers there, but I need to clarify. And then the ending just, it bothers me. Like, a few things about it. Like, for example, when Perfect Chaos is destroying the city, Eggman shows up in something called the Egg Carrier 2, because he has that. He just does. And then he's like, this was created specifically to in case you got out of control, and now you must be destroyed at all costs. Two things about that. One, earlier in the plot, he specifically said that the Egg Carrier paled in comparison to the power of Chaos. So what makes him think that a duplicate of the Egg Carrier would fare any better? Second of all, isn't Chaos doing the exact thing you wanted him to do? He's destroying Station Square. I mean, I know he's not under your control anymore, and that probably bothers you, but he is doing what you wanted. You wanted this. Why are you trying to stop him? And then the ending. Tails says the dumbest thing in the whole game. I mean, compared to everything else, this one line just
all's well that ends well, right?
One more time.
All's well that ends well, right?
The city is fucking destroyed. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people are dead or dying. This did not end well at all. The scale of destruction here, the amount of collapsed buildings, consider how many people died in Hurricane Katrina. Now imagine that times 20. Good God, there was nothing about this ended well. I mean, yeah, it's nice that Chaos isn't going to try to kill everyone again, and it's all happy there. But what about the tens of thousands of people who are dead? How about that? But despite my many complaints, Sonic Adventure is a very good game. It hasn't aged too well, like I said. The gameplay and the camera are going to irritate the crap out of you, especially if you're playing the Adventure DX version, the director's cut in the GameCube, which is actually where this footage comes from. I don't know why, but I have way more goddamn camera issues in that version of the game than in the original Dreamcast version. I have no idea what the hell that's about. But other than that, there's not a hell of a lot of difference between the two. And if you haven't played this and you're a Sonic fan, keep in mind, this was the first true 3D Sonic game, and if you haven't played it, you're selling yourself short not to at least give it a try. It's a good game. It's just not the best nowadays. Let's put it that way. So that's it, and I hope you enjoyed the review, especially since this is a perk for somebody who definitely deserved it. And again, the Patreon followers, you guys will be in the credits still, but you won't be charged for this review for anything, so you don't have to worry about that. And I do have another review planned for later this month for Christmas, but I can't promise it's going to happen because every time I say something's going to happen, it doesn't. So actually just assume that it's not going to happen, and then maybe it will. But maybe that's how this works. I really have no idea. But until next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.
All's well that ends well, right?